everyone, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Fandom Access. All three of us are here.
Yay!
However,
Hello.
Karen has not seen Doctor Who yet.
Oh, you bad girl! I didn't
I've
know
seen-
you had seen Doctor Who.
I've seen part of it. Sorry, a lot of stuff to catch up on when you take a no internet vacation for a week.
No, that's okay. Well, we usually talk about it first. Do you want to go off while we talk about it, or are you going to listen? Or
If you guys want to take it first, then I'll just tune you out for a little bit. I actually have it running on my TV.
Actually, before we get into episode 3, real quick, since Karen hasn't been here, short version, what do you think of the first 2 episodes?
I didn't love either one of them. I think I liked the Space Babies a little better, maybe because talking babies are always funny and cute. And it was a sort of a very typical like Doctor Who Monster of the Week kind of adventure. I didn't really love the Maestro that much, and I think I said to you guys one of the reasons was like it's only episode 2, or they're calling it episode 3, but whatever. And we've just met this doctor, and the doctor's already like met a villain. They can't like that. The doctor's like, oh, I don't know how to beat this villain. I can't do it. And I thought that was very. I mean, we've kind of seen those huge episodes, but I just felt like I want to get to know my doctor more before I don't know. I don't know if I felt like I came kind of. I don't know. I didn't like that the doctor who we've barely met was in this like it's hopeless, I can't do anything, like I don't know, like the doctor. I want a little more of that doctor's confident, like get to know my doctor and like get that. The doctor's usually so confident, and when the doctor can't, has one of these like almost unbeatable villains.
Later in the season.
Yes, and they tend to be really big. They tend to fall in like these really big landmarky kind of episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling that Maestro is just the first of many.
Yeah,
it
might be.
I think so too. The Maestro was only one of the toy makers' children. And then there's the one who waits is like eventually coming, right?
Yeah.
So I get that maybe it's going to be a season-long kind of an arc. But I don't know. I also really didn't like the animated musical notes on the string, how the Maestro was able to like. I was like, wait, is the Maestro really making a rope out of notes, or is this like am I seeing like a metaphor? I don't know. I just didn't really like that kind of a tractor beam made out of an animated staff of notes.
I had not even thought about that. If out of everything in the episode, I did not think about that.
Yeah,
I'd almost rather.
Really didn't bother me either.
I'd almost rather see lightning shoot out of the Maestro's fingers than like animated staff of musical notes.
Yeah, that part didn't bother me, but
something I said to Jamie last week, with the doctor being a little different. I think we're seeing what happens with a bi-generation, because we don't know if he's equally everything that the doctor has always been, or if he's taken like he's got more of one part than another. Because when you split something, if it doesn't split evenly, then you get more of something on one side than the other, which I think might play into the doctor kind of having trouble, being like, having this attitude of I can't beat him, I can't beat they yet, or let's run away from the big ugly monster in Space Babies. I never run, but why am I running? I think I feel like it's going to be more emphatic one way or the other at certain times.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, as I told AJ, I get that, and I can buy that for a while, but I just sometimes wonder, am I using that as an excuse by saying, oh, he's different now? Like, I want to see some of the old doctor, though, more so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the doctor always has a somewhat like different personality with each regeneration, but the doctor supposedly retains all the memories and knowledge of every previous doctor, and there is sort of a through line of confidence, of nerdiness, of bad jokes, of that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and that is missing a bit. I had agreed with that. I don't feel like I see Tennant in him very much, other than like he's kind of wacky. I don't necessarily feel like he's channeling him.
Well, and that's fine. Like we didn't maybe see Tennant and Capaldi Did Capaldi come after Tennant? Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No.
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 No, he came after Matt Smith.
Capaldi came after Smith, right? So I didn't see Smith in Capaldi necessarily. You're not really supposed to, right? But you do have this sort of like overall doctor. The
Feeling.
doctor is the same person with the same code of honor and conduct and the same things that drive the doctor always, and the same, right?
Mhm.
And the same guilt of like centuries of the Time War and all that, right? Doctor's so driven by guilt in a lot of ways. So yeah, maybe for me, I'd like to see a couple more Monster of the Week before the Maestro, and maybe I could have appreciated it more. Like Boom, you guys are gonna talk about it in a minute, but it's so much more of a like character study, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Boom is definitely the best one so far. I mean, we're only 3 in, but
yeah, it's definitely the best.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the talking babies. As I told AJ, I actually think I disliked Space Babies more than most people seem to, which is surprising because I'm always giving, glowing reviews. But I don't know, it just kept making me think of the E-Trade babies with their mouths that don't match up, and it irritated the crap out of me. It wasn't that I didn't like the episode, I just didn't like the way they animated the babies.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I mean, they were real babies. They actually worked with 20 babies on the set. Just their mouths were animated.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate. You're probably surprised that I mean, I know you hate babies in shows. I don't really like, always love babies in shows. This was pretty. I mean, at least they were one episode babies. They didn't hang around, right? And I think it's at the I feel like episode 1 was Space Babies, maybe less so the Maestro, and certainly Boom, they're sort of loaded with political commentary.
Yeah.
Right? Episode. You guys probably talked about it last week.
Not much. AJ's like, no.
Space. I mean, okay. I mean, we don't have to get into what, but the way that the planet won't accept these babies, and some other stuff that was going on with that. And then in Boom, there's a lot of commentary about like war as a capitalist enterprise.
Yes. Although apparently it must be, unless my brain is broken, it must be from the original series. I was reading on Facebook that the company, I guess, that made that it was from someplace else in the series. And unless I'm totally missing something, it must have been from the original series, and I don't know. But it's got some kind of connection, I guess, to earlier in the show.
Oh.
It must be from the classic series because I had no clue what they were talking about.
Oh,
sorry, I zoned out for a second. What did you just say about the original?
The company that made the bomb thing that he talked about. Apparently that race or whatever was
the Pantheon.
Yeah, was somewhere in the series. It must have been from the classic series because
it is.
Okay, because I didn't know what they're talking about, so I need to go back and watch classics yet. All right. Well, we'll get into more details if
All
you want to jump off.
So Karen's going to tune out
I'll tune out for a little while. Put a comment in the private chat when you want me back.
Okay. I will do that.
Sounds like a plan. I really liked this episode. I felt like it moved really fast though, because at first I kind of felt like where was the rest of the episode? Like it felt kind of like an intro, but I think it's just that it moved really fast.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because they didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, and I kept feeling like part of me was feeling like did anything happen? Like they didn't actually get from point A to point C. It felt like I said, like they only did the beginning of the episode, but that's okay because it definitely moved fast, and obviously there was a plot. They just didn't, like I said, didn't go anywhere. I don't know if you can call an episode where they're not indoors a bottle episode, but I mean it essentially was. They didn't even move off to like the 5 square feet or whatever. So it was
seriously, they were 10 feet from the TARDIS the whole time.
Yeah, so there was not a lot set wise. I mean, what they had was good, but it wasn't a lot of changing. But I found it like very tense, and I did like that this time he sort of just jumped into danger, like we talked about that. He just ran out and he's like
Yeah.
takes and does it. But it was emotional too. Obviously with the girl and her father. The thing that I had a problem with in the episode that had to do with the script, and I don't know, maybe you didn't, but I kept feeling like, and granted, they did explain it at the end, but it still seemed not to me make tons of sense, is that the girl at a certain point had to understand her father was dead. And she didn't like get upset. She didn't cry. She just sort of accepted it and didn't say anything. And I thought that felt a little disjointed to me. I mean, I know at the beginning she thought he was still there, but at a certain point with them talking, she had to know that it meant he was dead. And I mean, she wasn't that young. But I mean, I appreciated the message with it, but it just felt a little disingenuous to me. But other than that, I really liked it. And I liked also that, and I said this last week, or I liked that Ruby doesn't listen to him, that she's kind of like, screw that. Like, I'm not going to leave you there. She, not that the other ones don't do that, but she doesn't know him very much. And me and Karen had talked about this, I know, a little bit before, but, she still is going to do what she's going to do, and she's willing to risk her life even though maybe she doesn't know him as well. And I like that. I liked how they did it, and it also had its funny moments as much as it was serious. I figured I would like it because it was Moffat. I expected to like it more.
I mean the episode was pretty straightforward, and the doctor being kind of stationary and kind of having to deal with actually what was great about it was the doctor couldn't do anything other than talk, which is what the doctor always does. The doctor talks everybody's ears off while he's trying to work it out himself, how to, solve the problem. And that's what we got in this episode, which is what I liked about it a lot. So I have more theories already. Episode 3, and I got another. So I think I know who the one who waits is, kind of, sort of. Okay. So Mundy looked very familiar to me. The actress did, and I couldn't place her, so I did an IMDb. She's from. She was Cinta on Andor, which is probably why I don't remember her, because I wasn't crazy about Andor. But that's besides the point. What I did notice was that the ambulance was Susan Twist.
Oh yeah.
Susan Twist has been in every episode.
Yes.
She's played little parts in every episode, which leads me to wonder if she might be the one, eventually be the one who waits. It's like she's
I don't know, because they've made it like it could be a joke or it could have importance.
Well, hold on. Don't forget.
I know what you're going to say, but go ahead. There's always a
twist at the end.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I don't. That's why part of me wonders if it's kind of meant to be a joke, or if there's more to it. I don't know. A lot of people.
I mean, it could be, but
that maybe that's Susan, his granddaughter. But obviously, that's what the actress's real name. So you can't necessarily connect one to the other.
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe it's somebody.
That's an interesting. I mean, it's an interesting thought, considering he mentioned Susan.
Yeah.
In the Maestro episode. So I mean, that's an interesting thought. We also don't know. I mean, I'm only on season 2 of the classic series, so I don't know. Susan's the only family member I know about. I don't know anything more about, daughters, sons, whatever, wife, whatever the doctor has had through the years. I don't know if they
I don't know.
ever say anything, if there's ever any other introductions. But given that he does mention Susan, I think people are just making a stretch because of the actress's name.
Yeah,
I really feel like she's going to end up being the one who waits, just because.
It
what
would
other
make
reason?
More sense if that was the character's name, but I mean, it wasn't.
Right.
Or if it was even, I could have even maybe bought if they did like a sneaky web maze type thing and put a fake name, but I had read that is really her name. That wasn't something that they. So yeah, but I the thing with there's always a twist at the end. At least it makes me think maybe there was a slight point to the music number, but I don't know. Then again, maybe Russell T Davies just knows this woman. Maybe it's his nanny or something growing up, and he's like, I'm going to put her in the episode.
technically speaking, the twist at the end of that episode was that Harbinger was still alive, because we see him right at the end of the number. So that could have been the twist also.
I'm trying to remember what you're talking about.
The kid that Maestro kills in the beginning of the episode.
Oh, okay.
And she says it's our Harbinger.
Oh, I didn't know he was in the musical number, you mean?
He was at the end of it. Yeah, he kind of creeps out and like pokes his head out from that. There's a building, and he kind of pokes his head out from the door for a second while the musical number is going on.
Okay, I can't remember if like I just am not remembering that, or if I didn't see it, but I don't remember seeing it. So either I missed it, or I'm not remembering it. But I'm guessing I just missed it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell with Doctor Who, but usually if something is mentioned or like he comes out, it's probably going to come around later.
Oh yeah, that's the thing with Doctor Who. Something, if you see it in Act 1, it's probably going to come back around in Act 3.
Yeah.
Oh, you know something funny actually? While I'm watching the classic series, every time I see a statue,
you think of Weeping Angels?
I get angry because I think about the damn Weeping Angels, but they haven't been. They're not a thing until the new series. So.
Yeah, no, they aren't. But I like the Weeping Angels. So, I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? This episode was really good, but it was also really straightforward. So there's
exactly. That's what I said.
To talk about. But I mean, I liked how they did it, because they were able, kind of like what you said, that they were able to do it without him moving and without him leaving. But it wasn't just he couldn't leave. I mean, he had to stand there and barely move.
Well, yeah.
And it proved that how smart he is. But yeah. Also, though, I kind of think about that had to be like a challenge for Shooty too. Like I'm curious. Like I'd love to hear, and he probably did an interview somewhere. I should look it up. I'm curious, like about filming that. That would be an interesting challenge. I think. Just not really doing a whole lot.
The one complaint I might have is I feel like they got to ease back with Ruby. I feel like they're jamming her down our throats. She made it snow again.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of feel. I think about that, like Karen's saying about the Maestro. It's like it seems like they're having these big moments and these big plot points super early on,
like,
and not like making them rarer, I guess.
Like the best way I can explain it, like compare it to, would be Clara. We first see Clara in the Matt Smith episode. She it turns out she's in the Dalek. And then of course and then she becomes the Impossible Girl, and we find out more about that and everything. But that was like gradually, like we keep meeting her, but until we get to that point to understand it, it's all kind of like, this is interesting, because it seems like she's just playing different characters at first. Then we find out, no, it's her the whole time. Whereas with Ruby, I feel it's not being done as well. It's being much more obvious, unless in the end it turns out to not be obvious and it's just all red herrings.
Yeah, it could be. But yeah, I agree. It's been a lot really quick. And I think I appreciate that in the sense that I don't want them dragging something out forever, but it just seems like they're trying to make a point too quickly. I don't know, something. I guess it's hard to tell without knowing if it has a meaning behind it. But as time goes on, we'll know more. But I hope that this is, a good sign that they're going to continue in this direction, because I did like this episode a lot more.
I feel like this next episode, I don't think I watched the whole trailer, but it seemed like it's going to be another episode that's a little more grounded than the first two again.
Yeah.
I feel like the first two episodes were just like, welcome back to the crazy world of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Now it's the good stuff.
Yeah, crazy can be good too, but I think sometimes you need a little bit more plot. Well, not that they didn't have plot, but
like Karen said, get to know our Doctor, get the story going, and then get a little nutty.
And then do the wacky, timey-wimey, everything else. Yeah. So I know though they're gonna have now. I don't know if it's just because they had filmed it already, or there's another companion coming in soon. But I know there was like a whole thing in the different newses and stuff that there was like another companion coming, and so I don't know if it's maybe just her storyline isn't as long, because I was under the impression that she's not necessarily leaving. So I don't know. That's the only thing I can think, and that's just conjecture. I have no clue. But
All right.
yeah. Okay. Well, I think
right.
there's not a whole lot more to talk about because it wasn't really difficult to understand to have a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah. So quick
Like I said, it was
discussion.
a bottle episode.
Yes, but it was very good. I really enjoyed it.
I just messaged Karen to come back.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I saw that. But yeah,
Of
I
course,
mean, it was pretty sad. It just there wasn't a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah. And she'll be back hopefully soon. Hopefully she's listening. There we go.
I'm back.
She's
Welcome
back.
Wow, I was watching Doctor Who while you guys were talking about it. Very dramatic.
Yes.
Yes, most definitely.
With some good twists in there. And I can't wait to watch the end of it after we hang up.
Yeah, it's a very I found it to be a very tense episode for the whole thing. It really kept me there. So yeah.
But yeah, like Ruby's in danger. Is she going to die? Which she's probably not going to die because she's only been the companion for 2 episodes. But whatever, it seems like she's going to die. And then all this commentary on I just got to the part where the doctor makes them understand that they're they just declared war on an empty planet. And it's all just about the corporate arms dealers maintaining.
I like the idea though that there is no enemy, like they're their own enemy, and not so much the corporate part of it, but the idea that there's no.
Well, she doesn't know that yet.
Well, she's talking about the corporate part of it.
Yeah, but did the doctor tell them about the enemy yet? Let's let Karen finish watching it.
Well, I got that from what Karen just said. So if I misunderstood what you said, I apologize. I thought that was
weird. I mean, they arrived on an empty planet, and they when they advertised their presence, it triggered all the technology basically.
They saw that part. That was what I was talking about. So yeah, gotcha. I thought that was interesting, that part of it.
I mean, it's basically like that famous Pogo cartoon. We have met the enemy, and he is us. So yeah, I look forward to seeing the end of it, and that was a good Doctor episode.
Yep,
I think that's a good get to know my Doctor episode.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Next week we'll talk about more.
We're gonna do Dark Matter or interview.
And with whichever.
Dark Matter. Okay, so I've seen the first 2 episodes of Dark Matter. Is that what I'm supposed to have watched?
No, there's 3.
Oh, I didn't see episode 3.
Let's
I didn't see
interview then. How about we do
but you watched interview? My God, Karen.
Why?
I watched 2 episodes of Interview with the Vampire. Yeah, so I'm all caught up on that.
See, if you had watched no interview, you would have been caught up on Doctor Who and Dark Matter.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you why. Because my dad's horrible Optimum cable doesn't have any apps for any shows, and so I can watch Interview, but I couldn't get Disney and I couldn't get Apple on his television.
That's fair enough.
Wait till we got back home to watch that.
Okay, well, let's talk about Interview first then, so that way you can talk. This one was a little bit better. I don't know. I just can't get back into it. I'm not really, if I'm honest, I'm not 100% enjoying it. It's kind of slow. It was better though, I think, than last week. It just didn't really grab me. I don't know. What did you guys?
I'm glad that they moved quickly after last week, and they're in Paris now, and they've met the Theater of Vampires, and that's the part I've been waiting for. I think, it's very hard, and I'm sure Karen would agree with me here. It's hard sometimes to just watch what's on the TV and not think about how they did it in the book. The biggest problem for me is Armand. For a couple of reasons. I mean, Armand is 15 in the books, first of all, which, okay, I get why they wouldn't want to cast a 15-year-old to play Armand. That's fine, but make him 18, not 30. It's very problematic for me because it has a lot to do with who he is and his character.
I would think that would be an important part, though, drawing parallels with Claudia, but I did not know that, so I guess that makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Claudia, I mean, I really like the new actress, and part of that's because she feels younger to me, so that kind of helps a little bit. But I don't know, Armand is just, He's pretty. I mean, I gotta say, he's pretty on point with how Armand is. I just feel like introducing Armand the way they did, it takes away from the story at the theater. It doesn't have that same, because you already know that Armand makes it out. You know, Armand is in the now. You know, so it's like, I feel like it's going to lessen what's going to come up of, will they, won't they type of thing.
But yeah, because we already know.
But the episode itself, I enjoyed. I loved Santiago. It's the first time. Wait, no, it's the first time that I feel the theater has been done well. The original movie touched on the theater a little bit, but I thought this was a lot kookier and crazier and more in line with the book.
The theater part was pretty cool and funny. Again, I mean, obviously I haven't seen the original, but like that part I didn't mind. I just think that, I don't know, it just still hasn't, it's not that it was bad. Like I said, it was a much better episode. Haven't really been grabbed yet this season. Like I'm not like, oh my God, I got to see what happens next week. Like yeah.
Karen.
I mean, I'm also struggling with Armand a little bit. And I think, like, setting aside what may or may not, I don't like him even setting aside the book. Like, setting aside how it differs from the book, I'm just not responding to this.
You know what I think part of it is? Like, I think like their love story, some of it was sweet, but I feel like he had a Jacob, I think is his real name. Anyway, I think that he had more chemistry with the one who played Lestat. That's, I think, in my opinion, what's kind of missing. Like, I don't really see it a lot between him and Armand as much. And maybe that's what it is. I don't know. And also Lestat was like more wacky too. And Armand is like really kind of subdued. I don't know. But there's something about that relationship. Like, I just don't see it quite as much.
You know what's funny, actually? I think I enjoyed the Daniel stuff the most.
Yeah,
in the
I did too.
Actually,
watching his reactions. Yeah,
I loved when he started cracking jokes about Lestat. when he started playing the Telenova music, and he's like, "Oh, come on!" He's like,
yeah, and he's like talking about a soap opera or whatever. That was funny. I agree. I like that too.
Yeah, I am. So, sometimes in some episodes I enjoy Daniel and his and the parts of the interview more than I do in like other episodes. And in this second episode, I found the interview distracting, partly because like the story of Louis and Claudia was so much better, and introducing the the theatre was so interesting. And then we have to go back to like Louis being emo and I mean, Louis is so much more emo than he is in the book. He's like totally emo in these episodes.
Yeah.
And also in the flashback, he's really emo when he's with Claudia, and he's like, I hate being a vampire. I mean, he's so Kylo Ren. He's basically Kylo Ren, right? I hate my father. And Armand is a very irritating presence with Daniel, right? Like, he's very bitchy, and I mean, and I really didn't like the whole part. So when he says early in the episode, "Oh, Louis, we can get Daniel asking what happened next in no time," but the way they did it, like reminding him of his failed marriage. I mean,
and I read but he was being kind of mean too. So
okay, but that's not. It just doesn't make sense that's how you like get him.
Right? No, I agree.
It doesn't make sense that's how you get him to compromise his journalistic integrity or whatever, right? Mm. Setting aside what's in the book, right? And I was like, so they did this by being mean to him? Are they glamoring him? Are they like,
yeah,
wait,
I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about exactly what that's supposed to mean, because I wasn't sure if the stuff that Armand was saying to him, he was really supposed to be saying to him or saying in his head, or because it kind of kept flipping back and forth between what I thought they were saying to him, and then it like showed him sort of whispering, and I was confused, and I just like didn't try to figure it out. I was curious what you thought.
I mean, I think they were just beating him. What I saw on that screen is them just sort of like undermining his confidence somehow, and
I just wasn't sure, because it kind of made it to me seem like Louis and Armand were like supposed to be saying the stuff at the same time. I don't know. I guess it was just the way they filmed it. It just was weird to me, that scene. But because he started saying something to him, I don't even remember what he said, because he didn't finish saying it, because that was when they kind of quit doing it. He was asking him questions or something, and I don't know, to me it seemed like maybe what Armand was saying wasn't supposed to be said out loud, so I was a little confused.
Well, one thing about those scenes is Louis is very mean.
Yes.
And that's very un-Louis like. Even with what we've gotten on the screen so far, he's never really been mean. He's been angry and upset, and that's different than being mean. And he was just flat out being mean to Daniel, which
with
kinda,
Armand egging him on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that whole part I really enjoyed the part, they get to the whole thing in France, like 19, what is it? It's like 1920s maybe, right? Like
I don't remember.
1920-ish. I mean, the war is over, right? And so it's around
somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's around.
You know how good my history is, Karen, so I can't answer that.
World War I ended in 1918, so they're like around 1919 or whatever, right? 1920. I love those scenes in Paris. I think they did I didn't live in Paris in 1920, but I think they did a really good job of
recreating it. Yeah,
of evoking 1920s Paris, and I think they did a really good job of showing how much Louis would love that kind of environment, and not just because, as modern Louis says, like, at least no one was trying to lynch me, and like, he's lying to Daniel. He's trying to make it sound like what he really liked was being able to, like, he's not lying. I mean, there was less racism, but
it's kind of seeing what he wants to see, I guess, or at least remembering it how he wants to remember it. Like, he's remembering the good part of it and kind of blocking out maybe some of the not so good parts of it, I guess. That's how.
But he's like he's like become a photographer, and they live in this cute apartment, and they're just like hunting freely. Like, Louis mentions that he hunts every other night to Armand, or that he eats every other night, right? And he only eats like rats and pigeons, like, in between. He's like a little more stronger, I guess, from the blood, and a little more, I don't know, loosening up. Although, Claudia's like, not at all buying
he
it.
Seems to be not as cruel as a lot of them. Like that's the one thing I'm not sure how to feel about is Claudia. And granted, I know Claudia's younger and that's part of it, but it's like she's all like into the violence. Like, he seems to not want to participate as much, I guess. And like, I got the opinion that he was not as interested in like them torturing the woman on stage, not physically, but like when they were sort of torturing her on stage and scaring the shit out of her, like he wasn't as into it as like they all were. He's much more like subdued and seems to have a heart still. I don't know, I guess that's what I felt like.
Louis is still trying to hang on to his humanity.
Yeah, that's
the best way to put it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's always been very conflicted about becoming a vampire. And he's really, I love those scenes when they go to the theater. I mean, I agree with AJ. I love the theater, and like vampires dressed up like fake vampires.
It's awesome. Yeah.
right? But like really this girl, when Santiago brings the girl on stage and she really is fearing for her life, and people think like the whole thing is so twisted, and you can see like the look on Louis's face. He's blatantly like
kind of disgusted by it a bit.
Yeah, he's appalled, right?
Yeah.
Louis, Louis drinks because he needs to, but he doesn't enjoy the hunt. And he doesn't intentionally torture his victims the way Lestat and Claudia and all the vampires in the theatre seem to enjoy doing, right?
Yeah.
Like Louis would never, remember when Lestat had that guy like tied up and his blood was dripping into the glass so they could like drink it? Like Louis would never do a thing like that. Louis would never like make this woman beg for her life, and he's blatantly appalled. And Claudia is so scary. I thought Claudia was so scary.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
I love Claudia. I love how wide-eyed she is with all this. Like, I love the pure joy on her face and amazement and awe during all this with her.
I feel like, now I don't know because I haven't seen it, but obviously when we're like listening to the story, we're not seeing where Claudia is now. If she is, I get the feeling that her enjoyment is going to be her downfall. At least that would be my guess, is that eventually she's gonna do the wrong thing or something because she's a little too into the violence. But
so in the book, Claudia is much younger. What is she in the book? I mean,
5.
She's like 5. Kirsten Dunst was like 10 when she played it in the movies, right?
Yeah.
But she always was like a very fierce and dangerous and ferocious kind of hunter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what makes her so frightening. And so I think they're getting that right. Part of it was because like as a child, a 5-year-old could never, but part of what happens in the book is that she does mature and she becomes she's got the mind of a woman trapped in the body of a 5-year-old. And we saw a little bit of that in this episode when Claudia sees the dress in the window and asks the seamstress to tailor it for her tween's body, her 15-year-old body or whatever, right? And the seamstress kind of scoffs at her and it's like, that's not a dress for a girl, that's for a grown woman or whatever. And I thought, I don't know what you thought, AJ, but I thought, is this how they're going to go? It becomes such a big deal. It's such a big deal in the book that this is why you never give the gift to a child. You don't turn children. And Claudia in the book becomes very like, I'm a woman and I will always be looked at as a child, and I have to masquerade as a child my entire life, right?
Yeah, I think you can't quite get a lot of that scope no matter what they're going to do in a TV show, movie, because they can't make them that young and do the part. I mean, they could, I guess, but it'd be really hard to do it in a tasteful way. You know what I mean? So I think that they're doing it in a way that evokes that, even if it's maybe not to that extent, if that makes sense what I'm saying.
I feel like AJ, like we had conversations in season 1 where AJ and I kind of were not sold on making her 14, 15, whatever she is, right? But aside from the fact that it doesn't maybe really work on television to play. Times have changed since that movie came out in like 1980, 90s, right? But I like both of the actresses that they have cast, and I think that a teenager is in many ways a lot like a 5-year-old in terms of their emotional swings and their brain not being fully formed. Yeah. You can do. I mean, you're liking it, AJ, also, right?
Yeah, I mean, nothing against either. The first actress. I just felt I wasn't crazy about them making her a teenager, but the first actress, even though she was supposed to be like, when I saw the trailers, I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like, she looks like she could be, late teens, early 20s. The first actress. This actress looks younger, which I think for me works better.
Yeah.
And yet, I think she's similar enough to the first actress that to me, it's not a jarring recast at all.
No, not at all. Maybe it's because she's shorter. Maybe that's what does it for me, because she's shorter.
Makes you look younger, huh?
Yeah.
But
so anyway, yeah, I don't know if they're gonna go down this road of Claudia like being so angry at both Lestat and Louis that she was even created, that, you know, like, and that so angry at her plight of being a child vampire. I don't know if they're gonna go there, because
one scene that I thought they did great in the movie that they didn't really do in the TV show, and maybe they didn't do it in the show, in the series, because they did it in the movie, is, one thing is Lestat has always treated her like a child. Even after 20-30 years, he still treats her like a child, and she's not. She's in a child's body, but she's not a child. But that was always Lestat's thing. Like, that's why they turned her, because she was their child. But so many things unpacked there.
I noticed Louis calls her sister a couple times in this episode.
Well, yeah, because that's after Lestat. That was kind of because Lestat and Louis looked at her differently. That was the whole thing. And Lestat would buy her these porcelain dolls all the time, and she finally loses her mind, and it's like, I'm not a child. Stop buying me these fucking dolls. And, they didn't really do that in the series. Which really goes to show her frame of mind, which kind of starts, in the book and the movie starts with her plotting to kill Lestat. I mean, they went a different way with it on the show, and it worked. Yeah. But I felt like that scene in the movie really drove home. That's why I thought the dress scene was a great scene.
It was a good scene, and a good balance with all this. Like, I love the Théâtre de Vampire, but did anybody else feel like they were watching the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
A little bit.
Clearly was an inspiration, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, Santiago had a bit of a Dr. Frankenfurter thing going on, and the people in the audience were like, I'm like, oh, that's me when I was 17 and I went to the midnight showing of the Rocky Horror, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it really was very crazy. It actually really, the idea that Armand created all that, or was Armand's basically the artistic director, right, of the Théâtre, and yet here he is in Dubai in his like all black, cool as a cucumber kind of like. It's hard to almost believe he's the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, see, they haven't really just explained the hierarchy yet. I mean, Armand is the leader of the Coven, and the Coven just happens to perform, kill, to be able to kill people on stage and have people think it's fake.
Yeah. But I mean, also that part at the end where Armand leads his merry band of pirates to go attack the rich people, like, and eat them all, right? In this crazy like scene.
Oh, that was a fun scene too.
It was pretty fun. I loved how like he and Armand are having this flirty, like, deep banter, connection, and meanwhile you see silhouettes in the window of like vampires killing.
Well, did either of you watch the inside the episode at the end?
No, I didn't.
I usually don't watch it, but I was doing something else towards the end of the episode, so it played through.
I watched it with the band, and I didn't see that, unless I shut it off. Maybe I shut it off.
They interviewed, they're interviewing the cast and everything, and they were talking to, the one that plays Louis. I can't think of his name right now. And he was talking about that scene, and he said it was so hard for him. He said Assad, is a professional, never broke once, but he could not stop laughing at all the stuff going on around him. He was so distracted with everything. Yeah? He said all the takes they had him do were because he couldn't stay in character. He kept cracking up
because it was such a fun thing to film. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be funny. Yeah, I must have turned it off too quick because I did not. Because I didn't the first time either. Come to think of it, probably because when it went to credits, I turned it off and didn't think anything of it.
You know, it's funny. Every time I sit down to watch it, I'm like, ooh, it's such a long episode. I forget the last 10 minutes is the inside the episode. So
I didn't get it because on demand you only get the show, and I guess maybe that's a separate show that you have to try.
Oh, I thought it was part of on demand. I misunderstood.
See, I feel like it's. I don't know. I don't know how on demand works.
I don't know. Like I said, I turned it off in the credits, so I might have just missed it. But
yeah, because it's after the credits.
Yeah, well, I watched it on demand today, so I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
It might count as a separate show, just like Talking Dead was a separate show, actually, from Fear the Walking Dead, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was a show unto itself, but anyway.
But usually the thing is that is like part of it. I don't know. I'm sure it's on YouTube. If it's not, we can go watch it if we really want.
All right.
So short version, I liked it all, but I don't like Armand, and I don't know if it's the way they're directing him to be. He's so flat, right? And yet I know so much of Armand's history and past and future from reading so many books, right? He's a character. I mean, I won't say whether he lives or dies, but I will say that we do learn more about him throughout the books, about his history.
Well, let's maybe it's they don't know how to they just don't know how to cast Armand, because in the movie they cast Antonio Banderas, which God, I hated that casting. and Antonio Banderas wasn't even a big name yet. Like, he wasn't a household name at the time. And I absolutely hated Armand in the movie.
Well, I think they cast Antonio Banderas for his beauty. Whether it was the same beauty that Armand had, because again, Armand's a teenager. He's
Armand, in the book, he's described as angelic.
Yeah, yes, he is. He's described as angelic. Yeah. And he's supposed to be very, very beautiful with like the face of an angel, right? Yeah. And he's Ukrainian in the book, which would probably like, I don't really care. I guess I don't really care if an actor who is cast necessarily looks like the character in the book, although they nailed Lestat so spot on, right? With that casting. But yeah, I'm not responding great to Armand, but maybe it's because of where the story is going and how they're directing him. He's kind of flat. So I don't know. We'll see where I could do with a lot. I could do with a lot less interview right now, even though it's called Interview with the Vampire and it's really about the interview, right?
Well, considering the fact that this is the second interview, which doesn't make any sense to me.
This is the second interview. And like where it goes with Daniel.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, considering this is very different.
Well, considering where it's going to go in a very different place. Just thinking about some of the things that happen in the book, this can't go there.
No, it can't. Like I've been saying, I wonder if it's just going to be, the show is going to just completely be called Interview with the Vampire, and every book is going to be an interview with Daniel.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Let's
probably move on to Dark Matter.
So I saw the first two episodes. I don't mind being around while you discuss the third episode, unless there's like massive spoilers that I'm going to be so pissed that I learn. Unless there's a massive twist in this episode. I liked the twist in the second episode.
I was going to say, why don't you talk about the first two episodes?
So to not go on too long, when I was watching the first episode, I was like, I kind of like this, but it felt like a very straightforward kind of a alternate. Like, oh, it's so obvious that this guy came from the alternate dimension, and the alternate timeline, whatever we want to call it, right? The mirror universe. I don't know what we're calling it. Not really a mirror, but it's obviously it was like so obvious to me that the guy in the mask is, what's his name? Jason? Is that the main character's name?
Yeah.
And he's,
but I don't think
Jason.
they hid that. I mean, that was kind of,
Well, they put him in a mask.
They did, they did at the very beginning, but I think that was kind of obvious. Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I think it's obvious if you are like us and you've watched every single alternate universe show that was ever made, right? But I think for a lot of people, stumbling onto an Apple TV might not have really caught on to it so quickly. And it seemed like any show that begins, like literally the first scene is someone discussing Schrodinger's cat. I was like, oh, is this going to be like really basic? Is this right? Like, oh, Schrodinger's cat, we get it. But I liked how they went so quickly to Jason being like the roles reversed, right? And being sent to the other universe. And that basically alt Jason, I mean, I'm going to call the high school teacher guy is our prime Jason, right?
Yeah.
And Alt steals his life because, I mean, it seems obvious to me in these 2 episodes that he's very jealous. Like, he regrets the decisions he made that took him away from Jennifer Connelly, and he's trying to steal Jason's life, and he's going to have to. So I kind of like that they moved that so quickly along, and we didn't have to watch like the whole part where Alt Jason stalked him for a long time and made this plan is behind us, and we don't really need to. I thought that might be the show I was going to watch, and then boom, they move it so fast. And then I liked that in the second episode, like, he doesn't go right to Jennifer Connelly and come and clean with, like, he goes to Alt Connelly. Like, prime Jason goes to Alt Jennifer Connelly, the artist, right? Where they're not together. And he basically, like, tells her the whole shebang, and she's basically convinced, right? By the end of the second episode. I mean, she's kind of alternating between you're crazy or, right?
Not that it matters now.
She's listening. Yeah, is the point. She's not like, you're crazy completely.
So I was kind of like, oh, they're moving this right along. Like, where actually is it going? Because all the things that I thought would have happened in a season 1 already happened in the first 2 episodes. So I think the pacing was really good for those first 2 episodes. And they did a good job of kind of introducing the personalities and the people, except for Alice Braga. Only had like 2 scenes as his. I was girlfriend. Like, wait, yeah, she seems to be his partner at work and his girlfriend who lives with him, right?
Of Alt Jason, yeah.
You find out more about her in the 3rd episode.
Yes.
Oh, well, you can tell me more. But I am. So anyway, yeah. So I was glad to see it moving right along. Kind of, I mean, not huge twists, but good twists that like move the audience along. And I think for people who maybe are not as steeped in this kind of storytelling, I think it's might be pretty accessible for a newbie kind of non-sci-fi person, because it's moving it right along, and it's not like getting into long explanations of science or pseudoscience.
Sure.
My biggest problem with the show so far, I don't like Jennifer Connelly's short hair in the Prime universe.
Hey, if that's your biggest problem,
that's not bad.
If that's your biggest problem.
I mean, it's still Jennifer Connelly, but I'm like, why did they do that to her?
Yeah,
to make her look different, probably.
Well, yeah.
I know. So were you surprised by the ending of the episode, Karen, though? I think last week we talked
What happens at the end of the second episode that would surprise me?
That's when they kill Alt Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's very
Daniela.
That's very surprising because
I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if where it's going is, are they going to fall in love? Because, right, like, like a Fringe type thing. Where, I mean, okay, it's not really the same. Where,
Karen, you type so loud. I shouldn't say anything because everybody always says that to me.
Sorry, I thought.
No, I was just teasing you.
That's funny. I assumed that was Jamie typing.
Nope, it's not me.
Nope. I mean, yeah, that's a big surprise because I thought like she's going to be his partner and try to help him. Like she's his one ally that he's found, right? And also, like, could they end up, like, could there be like a love triangle or quadrangle here, right? But unfortunately, just when it looks like things might be getting good between them, like, the door opens and like they shoot Danielle in the head.
Yeah, that was definitely a shock.
So yeah, that was a huge surprise. But now you don't have to see that short. Now you only have to see the short hair now, AJ. Unfortunately,
I know. And something, because I told you I already read the book, and he has been loving it because he has said it has been practically page to screen.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. All right. Well, we probably should go into some of.
Yeah, go ahead, go into it. Don't mind spoil. I mean, unless you tell me, Karen, definitely don't. This will ruin the whole show for me if I listen.
I feel like the end of the third episode is kind of a spoiler, but I also kind of I thought it was kind of obvious that that's where it was headed, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, yes, as the episode progresses, it's obvious. I don't know that it's obvious to Karen.
I'm trying to remember
already.
Yeah. I'm trying to. No, not the part. Well, no, that's not the part.
Well, yeah, that part.
No, I mean at the very. I mean, kind of the whole point of it. I guess it's hard to say without saying. Yeah, where they end up at the end. I would say it that way. But yeah, you're right. It might have been during that episode. I watched it all together.
That's true, though. You've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, so
you might say something you shouldn't and spoil.
No, I'm not. That's right.
No. This is episode 3 of 9. There's a long way to go, so dive in. I'll be quiet and listen.
Okay.
Well, I guess the main part of this episode is obviously, well, I mean, that's kind of the main point of the whole season, trying to get back to his own universe. But I mean, the overall gist is kind of that he discovers what his alternate version was working on, which was something he had been working on and kind of never finished because he got married. And it's what enables everything. There, I sort of said that without saying that. How was that?
Well, the way, I mean, I like the way the episode starts with him. He's kind of playing dumb. He's pretending to be their Jason, and he's like, "Help me remember who I am. Help me remember this. Help me remember that."
I like that.
And it looks like he's doing a pretty good job of trying to figure things out and everything. And then you find out that they've known the whole time that he's not the real Jason because Ryan opened his big mouth and told them what he told them, him and Daniela, about his real universe. So.
Yeah, but they were going to kill him, right? If I remember rightly. So.
Well, no, they just called. No, it started out with them. He said they reached out to him, and after the way Ryan left things with him when he left Daniela's apartment, he was like, "Yeah, he's over at Daniela's." And then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh my God, did I get her killed?" Like all of a sudden Ryan realizes, I fucked up. Yeah. But how would he know? It's like it's not like he did it maliciously.
Yeah. But I mean, kind of the whole thing is the box. That's the whole.
Well, yeah.
And that's why I didn't know how much you wanted to go into it because I mean, I don't know. I felt that I saw it coming, what was going to happen. But again, you're right. It might have been because of that episode. So I don't know.
Well, I gotta say, like the whole thing with they show him the box and they explain it to him and everything. But the problem is they don't know how it works. Nobody knows how it works except for Jason. And Ryan but Ryan doesn't know because he was just making different cocktails for Jason. He doesn't know what
understanding what it did. Right.
Yeah, he doesn't know which one was actually successful for Jason. And for all he knows, he made cocktails for Jason, then he combined cocktails for all he knows. And that, so that's the whole problem. They don't know how to they have the vials, but they don't know how to duplicate it. Like they can't reverse engineer it.
Right. And they don't, I mean, not even just the vials, but they don't know they seem to not know how they made it work, I guess, I feel like. Because if they had the vials, they should have been able to do what he did, but yet they didn't. Or maybe they were scared to. But I think they sort of didn't.
It might be more scared to because, I mean, at the end when Jason and Alice Braga.
Well, he didn't come back.
when
the
they
same one. So
when they go into the box at the end of the episode. I mean, she does say, she's like, we're gonna inject ourselves and hope we're not here when they get in.
yeah,
So,
that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, I guess my point is, if they had that many vials, you would think they would have tried. But then again, I mean, that's the point of the experiment, and that's why they sent people.
well, that's the thing. Nobody's come back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, didn't they say there was somebody that came back, but there was something, I can't remember.
No,
Did
Jason's the
someone
only
come
one
back
that's come
or
back
not?
because Jason's the only one that's come back because in order to
And
come
it's
back,
not the same Jason either. They know that,
no,
so they
but
don't think he came
but you
back. I
need
was thinking somebody was nuts or something.
but to
I don't-
come back, you need another box to come back.
Yeah.
Jason built that box to send Prime Jason back.
And because he's the
So
only
you
person
take-
who knows how to build a box, right?
Right.
Like nobody else came back because they couldn't
They don't
build a
know how,
box.
yeah, exactly, because they don't know how to build the box.
Well,
So this
okay.
thing,
What I'm thinking then that I was going to say, maybe because you haven't seen more, so I won't say anything else. But yeah.
Well, if you're talking about the end of episode 3, I'm not.
No. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the way the box. What I'm thinking with the box might just be because I know more. So I'll just shut up.
shut up.
I'll just shut up.
So the way you're talking about the box, I haven't seen episode. I mean, I saw the box in episode 2, right?
Yeah.
But the box, all this box, you know, this is sort of I don't want to call it a trope, but it's a thing we've seen in other shows, like where you need to inject yourself before you can time travel or do whatever kind of travel, right?
Well,
or
they actually go into a scientific explanation of why time travel is not actually possible. Basically, what this injection does, it turns something off in your brain
Because if you're awake, you can't.
so that your body can compensate for the travel. Like, the reason time travel isn't, like, they go into this whole, like, when you watch the episode, you'll get more out of it than what I'm going to say right now. But in layman's terms, there's something in your brain that prevents time travel, and Jason figured out how to turn that off to make it possible.
No, you're saying time travel.
It's not really time travel.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Universe hopping.
Bad choice of words. Not time travel. Alternate reality travel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
basically you have to be asleep, and that was what the cocktail was about, turning that part of their brain off. Essentially. Yeah, and that's why it's able to work or not work. But I guess the point is, I think it's not really a spoiler for. I mean, Karen didn't see it, but I don't think there's anything that she'd be surprised to say that they figure out whether it works or not. I mean, I think that's kind of a given, which was sort of what I was saying without going into detail. So yeah. Oops. That's the wrong thing. But
I was just saying that this is a thing that we've seen before, where in Timeless they only had 2 time machines, and if you didn't have, like, nobody knew how to make one, and if you couldn't make one, you know, when one was destroyed, that was it. You could make a new one. Or in Fringe, the machine, nobody really knew how it works, but only Joshua Jackson can power it, and nobody can build another one, and nobody can figure it out. And in 12 Monkeys, you need an injection to travel, right?
Yeah, they had to have the injection to survive it.
You did need injection.
It's I'm not saying that I haven't seen it. I don't really want to call it a trope, because I'm not sure that it is used enough to be something that's called a trope, and maybe it's coming from science. And maybe it's coming from science, and that's why we've seen it before. But we've seen it before. Yeah. Yes. It's a storytelling.
Yes.
It's a storytelling technique that we've seen before.
Yes.
Doesn't make it bad. I'm not saying it's not well done. I haven't seen it. But it's a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's well done. I like the way they did it. I like this episode, and I think that without spoiling, I think that this episode kind of launches it into the rest of the season, of where it gives you a better idea kind of what's going on and where it's going to be moving. I guess we'll say it that way.
I should hope so, because there's 6 more episodes, so it should be. And we like Blake Crouch stories, and we like what Apple does with sci-fi, right? So
Yes.
I feel pretty good going into more of it. But I'll get all caught up for Frostbite 2 and get caught up for next week.
Sounds good. And I put up the next interview for it, which is with Elise and Joel, but it does have spoilers for that part of the episode. So if you want to watch,
Elise,
watch the interview, Elise. Yes, her name is not pronounced Alice; it's Elise. Or yeah,
it's Elise Braga. It is.
Yeah.
It's Elise
spelled
Braga.
Alice.
No, I know it's spelled Alice, but it's not, because we were told that before we went in.
Is it?
Is
there like?
Yeah.
Should there? Is there like a?
No, there's not
mark?
an accent mark. But
There's no accent marks.
No.
Okay.
Right. No, but anyway, my point is, if you're going to watch the interview, I would watch episode 3 first, because the end of the 3rd episode is I asked her about. So that part is sort of spoilered, and I talked to Joel about playing multiple versions of him. So, but that is up, and I still have the one of Jimmy Simpson coming yet, which should be pretty soon.
That's cool.
I either have to edit out something I said that was a spoiler, or I have to wait. That's why sometimes I try to ask something, and like you have to ask around it, because they know what you're talking about and you know what you're talking about, but you don't want. And I realized when I listened back to it that I outright spoiled it without meaning to, but it can be held or I can fix it. I have to decide. But that is coming. That was a fun interview.
That's funny.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, the rest of those will be up, and there's still more of Reginald and Outer Range too.
Oh yeah, maybe next week we can talk about Outer Range. Jamie, you've watched the whole thing?
Yes, I watched.
All right.
And yeah. Oh, what was I gonna say? I lost my track. I'm looking at the page for Dark Matter, and I'm like, wait, what? Confusing myself with what I was going to say. What I was going to say is my Josh Brolin interview. I did put that one up, which was a fun one for Outer Range.
Well, all right. I'm looking for. Yeah, I can probably watch that whole thing by next week's podcast, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just do a quick run through. But yeah, I like this season better. I will just say I like this season better than last season. I think last season was a little slow to me, at least at the beginning. This season, I felt like it moved faster.
I hope all that character development is going to pay off in the second season. A friend of mine said to me, "Oh, do you like Outer Range? Should I watch it?" They're like, "What's Outer Range?" It looks like I said, "Well, it's kind of like a sci-fi western."
Yeah, but not like Firefly sci-fi western though.
Well, my friend,
because it's nothing like Firefly.
First, my friend goes, like Yellowstone? And I was like, no, not like Yellowstone. And then he goes, so is it more Firefly or Cowboys and Aliens? And I was
Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah, probably more.
Definitely more Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah. See, I'm not a Western person. So I would say my least favorite part of the show is the Western part. And I think I would enjoy it more if it was not that it's not modern day. Clearly it is modern day. It's happening now. But I would enjoy it more if it wasn't ranch stuff. That just because that doesn't appeal to me. But regardless, it was really good.
I appreciate that.
That's Alyssa's problem too. She hates Westerns.
Yeah, I'm just not big on that.
I'm gonna say I appreciate that, Jamie, and that's a totally fair statement. But I remember when you were not a Star Wars person.
I'm still not a Star Wars person.
Wait, I'm not done. I remember when you were not a Doctor Who person. And I remember when you once said, I don't watch black and white movies.
I still don't watch black and white movies.
I was going to say, she still doesn't do that.
Yeah, I don't remember ever saying I wasn't a Doctor Who person. I know I wasn't a Star Wars person, but I'm still not a big Star Wars fan. I mean, like, I like Star Wars, but I'm not big.
I remember when you first got into Doctor Who and then you went all in hard.
Did I see? I can't even remember that far back. It feels like I've watched it for a long time, and I guess you're right. It hasn't been that long, but or at least relatively.
I remember you weren't a Whovian, and then you were like,
I wasn't a huge Whovian. I watched it, but I wasn't like into it. But yeah, I'm not a Western person. I don't like that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think I would like Yellowstone. I think I tried to watch
I hate Yellowstone.
Whichever
I tried to watch
one is. I tried to watch and I just didn't.
I tried to watch Yellowstone. I gave it like 5 episodes. I hated it. I waited a year. I came back. I tried to rewatch. I rewatched the first 3 and I was like, I just hate all these people. I can't watch this. I would say that Western is too large a genre to say you don't like Westerns. Because you like Firefly, and that's a Western.
Yeah, that's a futuristic Western. That's
and
different.
You might like
spaghetti Western.
Yeah, I don't know.
You might like Blazing Saddles, the greatest Western.
Yeah, I like Blazing Saddles, but that's more making fun of Westerns than it is an actual.
It is.
I mean, it's a Western, but I have seen Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. Speaking of Star Wars, The Acolyte is coming out June 4th. AJ, you have signaled your intent to not watch The Acolyte?
No.
You are going to watch The Acolyte.
Yeah, why wouldn't I watch The Acolyte?
I don't know, but you told me maybe it's some other show that you were like, I have no interest, and I was like, all right. But The Acolyte should be pretty good. So it's June 4th, so it's not next week's podcast, but we'll catch up with it after Memorial Day. But the cast is incredible on The Acolyte, right? I mean, it's basically a Jedi investigation into some crimes, I think is boiling it down to its most basic storyline. Takes place 100 years before the Phantom Menace, right?
Yep.
But the casting, I mean, I love Amanda Stenberg. I love Daphne Keane, who we last saw in His Dark Materials.
Yep.
And before that in Logan. Jodie Turner-Smith is in it. And Carrie-Anne Moss is in it. So there are some really great, and there's a bunch of other good people also.
I will try to watch it. I still haven't watched any of the other Star Wars series that are on they're the TV series.
Well, you don't need to know anything because this is 100 years before anything.
I will try to watch it. But see, that's what I mean. Like, and that's what I was saying. I still don't feel like a Star Wars person. Like, I liked Star Wars, but I wouldn't go watch it again necessarily, at least not for a while. Like, I don't care. It's not like, ooh, it's okay. It was good. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't call myself a Trekkie. I wouldn't call myself a Trekkie either, but that was not what I meant. You know what I meant.
Well, I would say what AJ just said, that this is set 100 years before. So anybody who doesn't think they like Star Wars is a good entry. And I read, Jamie, that the Carrie-Anne Moss character, that the creator of the show, that this character was inspired by Trinity.
Okay, that's cool.
And
I kind of want to watch it.
And that
which is why they cast Carrie-Anne Moss then.
That would make sense.
Yes, and she basically said in an interview that it's Trinity with a lightsaber.
Okay,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah,
I'll give it a shot. Yeah, I do eventually want to see them, and I do want to see The Mandalorian in that. There's so much on TV. It's just not one of my top priorities that I've gone to. And I don't know why that reminded me, but I wanted to segue into something else that's coming, and I don't think it's coming for a while, but I saw I don't even know if you can call it a trailer. It shows little character clips, I guess I'd say, more than anything, of the second season of Sandman that was went out.
Listen, Sandman will not be back till 2025 at earliest.
Yeah,
I say we're at least a year away from Sandman because they literally just cast the rest of the Endless.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't. That's what I said. I wasn't remembering when it was, but they released a little. So I said it isn't exactly even a trailer. It's a little thing. It shows the different characters and who play them.
Yeah, there's
that.
They just cast the last 3 siblings, and which means they haven't even started filming, which means we're at least a year away.
It's a while away, but that's still.
I mean, it's already been a year and a half since we got season 1.
Yeah, and that's also a very expensive show that is going to probably take a while to make. So it's not.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
it's got
all the strikes didn't help. So
that definitely did not help. You're right. But that is either way something that is upcoming, even if it's not soon. And then The Boys is coming back. Obviously, I know AJ, you watched that, which I don't know. Maybe I'm still hoping maybe we can get some postmortems, but. At least at this point, maybe not. So but I know that's coming back very soon. And what else? Trying to think if there's anything else.
From should be back this fall.
Yeah, that's going to
Oh,
be well. Criminal Minds, you don't watch that.
Well, I might try to catch a couple movies this week now that I'm sort of back, and
I want to see that M. Night Shyamalan movie. Yeah, I can actually go to the movie theater now. I was thinking of that today when I saw a trailer. I'm like, hey, wait, I can walk. I can go to the movie theater. I'm not. I mean, to be fair, I'm not supposed to go up, down steps, but I could go up, down to sit down and watch it at least.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
So I have not seen Dune 2 is out on Max now on HBO Max, so I might finally.
Yeah, I've been waiting to see that. I haven't had
I feel like, I mean, I should have seen it in theater because I should have seen it on a big screen. I missed it, but I think my TV's big enough. I have a decently big TV. Furiosa,
the first one on my TV screen. So
yeah, Furiosa is out this weekend. That's one I will definitely try to see in the movie theater. I can't wait to see Furiosa. So I'm gonna try to catch that also, and then I don't know what else I'm gonna try to catch up on some things on Netflix or whatever.
We haven't. It's been very crazy around here. We haven't even watched Dune 2 yet either.
Yeah, I still.
All right, maybe we can review that when we all get a chance to watch it. You haven't seen part 1 yet, Jamie?
I've seen part 1. I want to rewatch part 1 before I watch the second one, though, because I honestly don't remember a lot of it.
Just watch the last 45 minutes. Like nothing happens.
That's true.
Really the last 5 minutes of the movie is when everything happens, and then it's suddenly over. Watch the last 45 minutes and be done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy around here. Artie's busy schedule has finally slowed down a little.
What grade is Artie in?
He's in 11th grade. This past weekend, Thursday, he had some chorus thing called Masterworks. Friday, I don't know if I told you guys, but he played Mr. Up in Woodstock, the Woodstock Playhouse. He played Mr. Wormwood in Matilda.
Oh, that's cool.
He's doing local theater, huh? Wow.
Yeah. So Friday so Thursday he had Masterworks. Friday morning he had they did the play. Friday night was prom. Saturday night he did the play, and then Sunday afternoon was the last showing of the play. So it was a crazy weekend.
Yes, when you're raising an arts kid, you have no life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. So tell Artie to prioritize television because you know how much.
I have. It's a miracle that it's a miracle that we were able to do Discovery and Dark Matter this week.
Yeah. Oh, well, you guys didn't do Discovery yet. You're going to.
No.
But before you do that, you forgot that. Before you do that, I was going to say there is one thing I watched this week. Not that it's anything for the show because I've watched it before. But you know what I started watching again, Karen? Now that it's on BritBox. Not that I didn't have the DVDs and could have watched it all along because I have. I started watching Sherlock again. I think this is like my fifth maybe time through.
Oh, wow. I've never watched it.
Really? Oh, I thought you did. I don't know why I thought you did. Go watch it. Like it is such a good show.
You thought I did because I told you I was watching Sherlock when I was actually watching Elementary.
Oh, you dumbass. No, I remember. Yeah, you did say that you're watching Elementary. But no, Sherlock is just such a good dramatic. It's got commentary. It's just really good. I like it. I mean, that was where I first started watching Benedict Cumberbatch, but they're both so good in it, him and Martin Freeman. It's a really good show, but each one's like a little mini movie. So it's just, there's not enough of them. That's the problem. There's not enough of them, but that's on BritBox. So.
All right. We've,
all right.
Yeah.
We
you
got
guys do Discovery
to watch. This is the penultimate. No, this was episode 7
2 more.
Of 9. Yeah. 7 of 9. This was episode 7 of 9. Woo!
Wait, which one are you talking about being episode 7? Because I'm pretty sure I just watched 8.
Oh, maybe I watched 8. What did I watch?
Well, I don't know, but look up which one aired if you watch it to screener before you talk about it.
What? You had 2 to watch.
I watched 2, but I watched the screeners, so they're always all out there.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I'm saying. You just make sure you're talking about the right one.
This was episode 8. The Labyrinth was episode 8.
The big when they go to the big library.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I watched.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna jump off then, guys, because I have no clue.
All right, bye, Jamie. So, we got a lot. Turn on the TV. We got a lot to talk about next week. Start watching now.
Okay.
Good night, Jamie.
All right.
Good
Bye,
night. Good night.
Jamie.
Bye bye.